So today we're meeting Pinstrats Dan. He's well known in the virtual pinball community as he became an excellent player and raffled over 10 wins in the weekly virtual pinball competitions. Daniel is also a conservation biologist in South Africa. Daniel started sharing table gameplay tutorials on his YouTube channel. Also became an asset to the VPin workshop team by becoming a table tester. Till this day, PinstratsDan beta tested about 26 tables and still counting. Daniel, welcome to the Virtual Pinball Show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. So yeah, hi everybody.
Yeah, it's nice to put a face to the name. What got you into virtual pinball?
Yeah, I think my story is quite a bit different, I guess, than most people that love pinball. And that is, I grew up I'm in South Africa, and I basically grew up just playing computer games, and not having any access to pinball. I have a vague memory of seeing Terminator 2 table early in the 90s somewhere in one of the big cities, but I've always lived in small towns. So anyway, so no access to real pinball. So I started playing just games, but over the years, especially let's say in the 90s, I played a few games like Pinball Fantasies and Pinball Dreams and a bit of Pro Pinball and all that. But I actually didn't understand pinball at all. I just kind of flapped around a bit. That's about it. And then in my 2000s, after I kind of started working, I lived on a game reserve in the middle of nowhere. I only had about for the first couple of years, I had no electricity. And then after that, I only had about 2 hours of electricity, maybe a day. So it took a couple of years where I didn't play any games at all. And then I got an Xbox at some point. Played a little bit here and there. And then basically with Pinball FX2, and that's what's that, about 2009 or so. That's when I actually, for the first time, started playing pinball and where I kind of started getting it. And soon I realized that it kind of fits my way of thinking and a way of doing things, which is very, let's just say I'm very calculated and systematic in how I do things. And for me, pinball kind of fitted that perfectly, because I could kind of plan out and strategize how I'm going to do things, and then figure out how I'm going to do it best. And then in the end, kind of put a good plan together and beat the table. So I love beating tables and all that. But yeah, so I played Pinball FX2, and then later FX3, but Pinball FX2 for about 2 years, and let's just say it kind of got a bit obsessive. And the reason why it kind of got a bit obsessive is that the games lasted so long. So basically, to do well on the tournaments and all that, you had to, like a sorcerer's lair. I remember I had to put on 4-hour games just to kind of get anywhere close to a top 10 score. And then when you're in a competition, then you just go for it. So, and my longest game was basically paranormal, and I didn't do it in one session, but the game lasted for 16 hours. So
Wow.
then in about 2018, that's when Pinball FX2, or was it 3, came out with the Williams tables, and that kind of fitted me nicely, because the games are much harsher on the Williams Classic Arcade physics, and much more brutal. And so then I could have competitive games, but in a much shorter time frame. And then I very quickly realized, man, I just really love the challenging gameplay where you sweat for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, you still put on an excellent game. 10 minutes of energy for a good outcome. It took me a long time to get good at the real tables, just because the gameplay is so fast, and I know physics isn't as spot on as, say, what we now have with VPX and fuzzy physics and so forth, but you still had to kind of learn how to control the ball better and all that. So the first table I really focused on was Roadshow, and it took me probably, I don't know, a couple of weeks of intensive concentration and playing to finally kind of beat the table to get to a super payday and all that. I kind of got got a lot of time to kind of master all those tables, and then started putting tutorials together. I always wrote up strategies and things like that on the Pinball FX forums. I used to be known as Cloda before I changed my name to Pinstrats Dan. So then I got a old computer from a friend of mine that could barely, like a old laptop that could barely play games, but I managed to install VPX on it.
Yep.
And and that was about the time, maybe a little bit later, but about the time that the VPW group and Infos and all that started coming together. So the first tables I played was like Spider-Man Vault Edition and Tales from the Crypt, and I was literally blown away. I was just like, this is amazing. In a very short amount of time, I kind of left Pinball FX behind me, just not for any bad reasons, just because I enjoyed VPX so much and the challenge. And I'm a bit of a physics snob, I guess, but at this stage. I only enjoy, and the reason why I'm a physics snob with Infos and all that's just because I really enjoy the tactile feel that you get and the control that you can exert by using flipper tricks and all that. And spend a lot of time to kind of figure out how to make that work. And to get the flipper tricks to work correctly.
What you find interesting particularly to this hobby?
I'm naturally kind of like a strategic thinking person, and I'm detail orientated, and I kind of like to focus in on the small things. And in pinball, what I figured out is it's not like chess, but the strategy involved is like you kind of have to not just flip around. You kind of have to. You can just flip around, but basically you have to eventually figure out how you're gonna achieve your goals and all that. So I quickly realized that I'm actually not score driven when I play pinball. I'm more goal orientated. In a way, I can almost say that if I do well in the table score wise, it's seldom because I actually went for a score. It's more just because I figured out how to beat the table well and then just kind of put a good game together. I guess in the end, it just kind of satisfied a need for me to figure things out and then put it together. For the last 3 weeks or so, I basically spent all my game playing time that I had just playing Die Hard. And each and every game I tried something else until I eventually figured it out. And then, just a couple of days ago, I finally beat the table. And there's nothing more satisfying for me in pinball. And you can almost say in life than when you kind of achieve that goal that you work so hard for.
Daniel, you mentioned earlier that you became a physics snob. Although it became really, really good, especially with the NFOSI and all the new techniques that VPW are applying. Do you really believe that physics can make or break a game?
Yes and no. So basically the no part is that when I played Pinball FX and all that, I actually played it as a game and I really enjoyed it and so forth. When I started playing the real tables, especially with all the recreations, for me it was all about I want it as realistic as possible. I want it as close as possible to the real thing. And luckily for me, the VPW group that's what they're all about, to kind of recreate tables as close as possible as they can. And with Infosy Physics and all the other work they do, the rubberizer and the target bouncer and all the kind of tricks that they do and implement, you get a really close approximation to what a real table will play like. And I just love the flipper tricks and the ability to kind of control the ball with a drop catch and kind of feed it back into orbit or whatever, and then kind of live catch it again, and then just do a little flick with the flipper, and then backhand it into the scoop, something like that. It just feels like you have so much control. Physics is not that. I honestly struggle to get into it. I have played a few over the years in the competition corner and so forth. And it's not like I don't enjoy it, but man, it's almost like you have to reprogram your whole your wiring to
Yep.
play it, because all the skills that you've learned, because it takes a lot of time to kind of hone in those skills, because you actively have to practice it.
So you've actually been testing a lot of tables for the VPW team. When you're testing a table that's, let's say, pre-release, do you have a different approach than if you actually doing a regular casual game?
So basically, I started recording all my gameplay. Maybe I'll just kind of give you a bit of background how I got involved with VPW and their collaborators for testing. In the competition corner and before that as well, I basically just recorded all my gameplay. Even though I don't do so many VPX tutorials, I've only done one so far. Then when I notice something, a bug or something, I just kind of use a little program called Lossless Cut, and I just clip it out and I kind of share it with the table developers. So I did that in the virtual Pinball chat Discord, and then Apophis approached me and he kind of said, "Hey, want to come to VPW and do the same kind of thing there?" And to be honest, I didn't know much about what was expected or what I was going to do or so. I just soon realized, wow, it was amazing just to kind of see these guys at work, see what they do, and kind of get involved. Yeah. So then I just start playing it, and my initial kind of testing that I do is just to kind of look at the flow of the table, see if all the shots work as they or as you would like them to work. Say if you should be able to backhand a ramp or not, and if you should be like kind of be able to backhand the mission start scoop or something like that. You know, I just kind of test everything out and give feedback on the shots and kind of say, yeesh, this outlane is ridiculously hard. Nobody's going to get anywhere on this table because, you know, you just can't. So you just kind of give feedback like that. All those kind of things, things that you don't normally think of, can often just kind of break the scoring completely. And with Blood Machines especially, there were a lot of things like that. So I probably played that table once, well, at least once a day for a year, if not more. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it, but I could also see that doing originals is hard work, man. Jeez, the guys really spend a lot of time getting the code right and so forth.
So, Daniel, you're a desktop user. You do not have like a virtual pinball cabinet. What do you think is the advantage or the difference between the two? Is there an advantage, for example, to play while you're a desktop, or is it just a misconception?
Yeah, so basically I come from a gaming background. As I explained earlier, I have very little real pinball experience. Even since I started playing the Williams tables and Pinball FX and all that, I've only played about 5 games on a real pinball table, and that was in the UK. One thing I can definitely say is I was pleasantly surprised that the skills that I've learned just playing on my desktop with my controller quite easily translated over into real play. Like what I mean specifically the flipper tricks and all that. I unfortunately can't say much about cabinet play just because I don't have the experience with it. See, one of the issues I had with Pinball FX, not to be negative or anything, is that their physics wasn't decoupled from their frame rate. I don't know if it's in Pinball FX3, so I don't know if that's still the case in Pinball FX. But basically, you, depending on your frame rate that you played at, the game actually played differently. So then I quickly learned with VPX that that's not the case. The physics is basically what it is. So if you play on a cabinet or if you play on a desktop or whatever, the way the ball is going to bounce if you launch it, like for instance on Metallica, to do the skill shot, it will be the same, irrespective if you're on the cabinet or if you're playing on desktop. So that means for me, from in terms of skills and all those kind of things, if you just have tactile buttons so that you can do the flipper tricks, you can. It's just you still use your fingers. It's just a different position that you're in and so forth.
So you actually decided to start your own Discord channel and basically you're focusing on virtual pinball strategies and gameplay. What do you mostly cover on your Discord?
Yeah, I started the Discord maybe about 3 or so years ago or so, and the main reason was I actually on the Pinball FX forum I had a channel there where I just basically kept everything together, and it was getting quite long and convoluted and all that. And there were lots of strategies, mostly for the Williams tables and so forth, but then also for some of the Zen tables. And then my initial idea with the Discord was just to kind of have a better place for sorting everything out and having it in one place. I share all my videos there if I do a video for a table or so. But most of my Discord chatting, I would say, is on the virtual pinball chat and the VPW group. But yeah, anybody is welcome to come and join my Discord, even if it's just to kind of brainstorm ideas. I love doing that. If somebody else have a different idea or strategy or so, it's one of my favorite things to kind of think through.
You also have your YouTube channel where you actually got quite a few videos, and they're good. Like, if someone wants to get a good feel on how to beat a table, you've got quite a few videos showing that.
Yes, yeah, no, I've some games I have on there. I'm actually really kind of proud of for putting them together. For instance, now this last Die Hard one, man, geez, that was blood, sweat, and tears that went into that. So I'm really proud of that. And yeah, so if you go through the gameplay and you watch it, you'll definitely get a good idea, because that game, I can say I played it, according to my strategy. I had a strategy in mind, and I kind of pulled it off quite well. And the score also, it exploded. I was surprised when I saw the score in the end. My best score up until that point was about 300 million, and I ended on a 2 billion for that. So it was huge. I have those tutorials, strategy videos that I've done for the Williams tables. I did one for Blood Machines. At this stage, unfortunately, not on a schedule. Just whenever a great new table come out or something, then I'll see if I can stream a bit.
Now, you obviously have a lot of experience playing these tables. You've mastered a lot of skills and techniques over the years, and you're sharing those techniques. If someone brand new to virtual pinball, what do you believe are the 2 basic skills or techniques that someone should master in order to be a good player?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I think by now, for me, I have an answer to that. The first one is that you have to learn to control the ball, and the easiest way to do that is to learn a dead bounce, just when the ball comes down, or a dead flip. And when the ball comes down, not to just always flip, to kind of learn as best you can to get the ball, let it bounce over from the one flipper to the next, and then cradle it and get the ball to stop still. The first tip I would give someone, a new player, pinball, real pinball as well, is to learn how to control the ball with a dead flip, the most important, and then cradling. Make sure that you kind of get to the point where you actually hold the ball. It takes some mental power, I guess, to kind of get yourself to not just want to keep the ball on the move.
Yeah.
And then, within Fuzzy especially, as I mentioned before, you can actually use flipper tricks. So practice those flipper tricks, because to control the ball, for instance, on Die Hard, you have the mission scoop. And man, that thing just likes to reject balls. And it comes back in various ways, and you have to learn to get it under control as quickly as possible, because it's the most frustrating thing if you shoot at that mission hole 10 times in a row and it still doesn't stick. And if you don't have good flipper control, you are going to lose the ball. You have to know how to drop catch, and you have to know to kind of do little flicks to kind of bring the ball under control. One thing that many people don't know about in fuzzy flipper physics is if the ball slowly roll up the right flipper, if you tap the left flipper, it basically imitates the solenoids. So basically, it makes the table kind of vibrate, and then that settles the ball on the other flipper. So you'll see if I play, I always tap the opposite flipper many times in a row when the ball kind of rolls up. and that often prevents the ball from rolling off the tip of the flipper. So there's all sorts of little skills that you can learn, and observe when you see somebody play, see what they do. The second skill, I would say, and that's going to sound a bit arbitrary, but it's really true, is that keep your eye on the ball at all times. As we kind of talked about putt packs and displays and all those kind of things, they distract you, and our eyes just want to kind of go all over the place rather than just stay on the ball. So if you say have the ball on the cradle and you want to shoot a ramp or whatever, keep your eye on the ball until after it leaves the flipper. Actually, don't. Our tendency is to look up as we flip, and then most of the times you kind of pull the shot or be early on the shot or so forth. And it's even more important if the ball is on the move. And then the same with if you, for instance, play a mission and you are running out of time. Our tendency is to want to kind of look at the score, and then it's kind of
always
ironic because that's not going to help you to get to finish it quicker. I willfully force myself to keep my eye on the ball, and I can tell you it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So, Daniel, I would like to know, when you're playing a table for the first time, do you like to learn or read about what the table is all about, or do you rather find everything out on your own?
In the Pinball FX days, then they always gave you like a week or two before the table came out, and then I just couldn't help myself. I would watch kind of tutorials and read the rules and all that. So by the time I got the table, I kind of knew it pretty well.
Right.
But with VPX, I prefer it other way around. I like to kind of get a feel for the table, kind of figure out the shots and not have a set idea in my head about how am I going to do something, because I find I miss things, especially not so much in terms of the rules, but in terms of table flow. Yeah, so in general, I kind of first play a table quite a bit, see what I can figure out, and then when I get confused with things, which I often do with playfield multipliers and all those kind of things, or if I just can't figure something out, then I'll eventually watch a tutorial or read the rules. Yeah.
You showed on your YouTube channel a video where you can defeat Galdor in Blood Machines. You're giving tips and showing folks basically how to beat the game. How many hours did you put in order to beat that game?
Sure, I don't know exactly, but it would be hundreds. I'm pretty sure, because as I mentioned earlier, I started playing it about a year, I guess, or so before it released. And during that time, I kind of tried everything and had to do it, over and over again. And some missions you couldn't kind of give good feedback on if I haven't figured out how to beat him. So at this stage, I basically played the table on instinct. I think I would even manage to do something if you blindfold me, just because I've kind of played it so much that I kind of have a good feel for it. So if I play it now, within a couple of games, I would put a good game together. So it's just so instinctive by now. Yeah, which is great. And I can imagine if you like a top player of real pinball, you'll eventually also get to that stage where you just kind of instinctively read a table and almost are 2 or 3 steps ahead.
For a new virtual pinball player, when playing a table, what are the basic tricks you can give to get better at the table?
I would say the first thing that I do when I start playing a table is actually just to try out all the shots. I literally go from left to right. I actually did a live, what will you call it, demonstration of it on Dr. Dude at some point. And it's a bit long because it was live streamed, but you'll get the idea. Where I just literally go through the table from left to right. I try all the shots and see if it's possible or not, and then figure out what would be my best options. So also combos, figure out how you're going to do your combos. Some tables like Attack from Mars, you have to do a 5-shot combo. So the sooner you kind of figure out how to do that, the better. So yeah, so just test your shots out before you even know anything about the table or even try to get anywhere. The second thing is, if you lose the ball, don't just swear at the table and kind of like mumble about it and then just shoot the next ball. Actually take a moment to think, what just happened? Why did I lose the ball? And you'll be surprised. Very quickly, you'll start picking up patterns. Sometimes when I don't think about it, that happens. But then what it basically comes down to is I force myself to wait up until the last moment before I actually flip. But that takes a lot of mental strength and concentration to kind of get to the point where you can do that. But first, you must know about it. And then that's what happens when you kind of concentrate on why did you actually lose the ball. The only way you're actually going to beat a table, if you really want to beat a table, is to put the time into it. Right. It's just not gonna happen. Some tables like Blood Machines and Die Hard and so forth, Lord of the Rings, Valinor Edition, you have to work at it, and there's no shortcuts. Obviously, your skills transfer between tables, but certain tables you must just work at it.
Well, you certainly talked about a lot of tips and different techniques. And where can people find more and learn more about different techniques that you're teaching?
Thanks for the opportunity to chat with you and kind of show myself. You can find me in various places, but my own Discord channel, the PinstratsDan one, you can get a link for that through my YouTube channel. My own Discord, I'm active there, but I'm actually more active on the virtual pinball chat Discord. That's where most people chat and so forth. And then also on the various Facebook groups. But yeah, now I don't think I'm hard to find if somebody's looking for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I was glad to be able to speak to you, finally putting a face to the name, and we'll chat later. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great.